Oh, fuck it. Well, there we go. I didn't have
All
to.
right, well, let's head in. This is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The U.S.
12
attorney.
minutes, no
Let's
views.
listen
Kind
in.
of strange for Fox.
But the details of Belter's crime are even worse. They are truly
Let's hear the right-wing timeline
no
about this man.
exaggeration.
So first things first, he voted for Joe Biden. No, imagine that was there. He voted for Joe Biden 3 times, actually. He mailed in a vote. He walked in and turned one in, and then he took his dead grandma's. He mailed in a vote for his dead grandmother, and then he went and bought himself an Antifa flag, and then he also associated himself with Black Lives Matter. That's how. I'll just fuck around. Fox would be like, he looks white. We know he looks white, but he's actually Arab and black and Jewish. He said he had a list of Democrats. This is clearly a Democrat that's killing Democrats to make the Republicans look bad. Because the best way to make the Republicans look bad is by killing your own elected leaders so that you will lose because you don't have anybody in house anymore. You don't have a majority in Congress. Why don't you kill the rest of them so you have an even lower majority? Like, you even have a lower amount of people in Congress. Though the idea that the right has been saying that this person is actually a leftist is hilarious. Left-wing extremism.
To say that his crimes
Yeah, sure.
are the stuff of nightmares. Belter stalked his victims like prey. He went to their homes, held them out as a police officer, and shot them in cold blood. Now, there's been a lot of information and misinformation out there about Belter's crimes. We have filed a detailed 20-page complaint and affidavit that sets forth what happened in this case. I'd like to share some of that information with you now.
Okay.
In the early morning hours of June 14th, Belter went to the homes of 4 Minnesota state politicians with the intent to kill them. Belter first traveled to the home of Minnesota
Not gonna lie, I didn't know that first part. I thought it just happened out of nowhere. Can we
State Senator John Hoffman
Sorry.
in Champlin, Minnesota.
He had to give the date and time
Belter
when it started.
arrived
I
at
understand.
the senator's home disguised as a police officer. He arrived in a black SUV with emergency.
Honestly, I think shooting innocent civilians kind of added to the immersion of his disguise. I would have probably saw that from next door and been like, oh, I thought he wasn't a cop when he first walked up talking to him. After he shot them for no reason, I was like, oh, that's probably an officer.
Lights turned on and with a license plate that read police. Belter wore a black tactical vest and body armor. He carried a flashlight and a Beretta 9mm handgun. He also wore a hyper-realistic silicone mask.
Wait, he had a Beretta? No. Actually, I do want a Beretta. That's why I was contemplating. I want 2 Berettas. But if you wonder why, if you've watched Black Lagoon, you know the reference. I'm gonna have to do it one day, just one day.
Senator Hoffman had a security camera. I've seen the footage from that camera, and it is chilling. Belter knocked on Senator Hoffman's front door and repeatedly shouted, "This is the police, open the door."
That mask did not
Senator
make him look any more like the
and his
police.
wife, Yvette, came to the door. When they opened the door, Belter shined the flashlight in their faces and said there had been a shooting reported in the house. Belter asked if they had any weapons. When Belter lowered his flashlight, which he had shined in their face, they realized that he was not a police officer. They shouted out, "You're not a cop. You're not a police officer." Belter then announced, "This is a robbery," and forced himself into their home. When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Belter out and stop him from entering his home, Belter shot him repeatedly. Belter then shot Miss Hoffman repeatedly. Belter fled the scene, and the Hoffman's daughter called 911. Unfortunately, the Hoffmans survived, although they remain hospitalized. After shooting...
Wait, did he say unfortunately, or did I hear that wrong?
Hoffman's daughter called 911. Unfortunately, the Hoffmans survived, although they remain hospitalized.
I was wondering why he was smiling the whole time reading this. I'm like, why the fuck did he just say?
Belter
No,
traveled
I
to
know
the
he
home
just.
of
There's
another
probably a
Minnesota
mistake in his
state
wording, but
representative.
still, that sounded like he just said, unfortunately they survived. Like, nigga, what do you mean unfortunately they survived?
In Maple Grove, Minnesota. Video surveillance showed that Belter rang the doorbell at the state representative's house at approximately 2:24 a.m. on Friday night. Again, he was dressed as a law enforcement officer, wearing a tactical vest and body armor, carrying a handgun and a flashlight, and wearing that same hyper-realistic silicone mask. Again, the images, as you can see on the screen, are haunting. Now, fortunately, the state representative was not home. She and her family were gone on vacation, and so Belter left.
Did he
Belter
say
then
unfortunately
traveled
again, or am I mishearing? Is he doing this on purpose? What do you mean? You would think this nigga's trying to get them knocked off. What is he saying? I have to be hearing him wrong. I have to be hearing him wrong. I'm just going to assume I'm hearing him wrong from this point on. It sounds like he's saying unfortunately. He might be saying fortunately, but it sounds like he's saying unfortunately the niggas didn't die. Like, what are we talking about, dog? What?
Home of a Minnesota state senator who lived in New Hope, Minnesota. He parked in the street in that same black SUV with the police license plate. At about 2:36 a.m. on Friday night, after learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman, New Hope police dispatched an officer to conduct a wellness check on the state senator who lived in New Hope. When the New Hope officer arrived at the scene, she saw Belter's black SUV parked down the block with the lights on. The New Hope police officer believed that Belter was a police officer who had been dispatched to the scene to check on the status of the state senator. The New Hope police officer pulled up next to Belter in his car, rolled down her window, and attempted to speak with him. Belter did not respond. According to the officer, he just sat there and stared straight ahead. So the New Hope police officer, who had been dispatched to the scene, proceeded to the state senator's home.
That is a crazy nigga. I know that there's a lot of crazy niggas in the police department, so they were probably like, well, he was probably gripping the fucking steering wheel, just, yo, what you doing? What's going on with you? Did they dispatch you out here? So you're just not a person, you just don't like to talk too much. Is that what I'm getting from this? Just probably didn't look that weird for a police officer, from being honest. She was probably like, oh, one of the other crazy niggas that I work with. Okay. And then just went inside the house, was like, oh, shit, I guess. I'm surprised he didn't shoot at her. I'll be honest. If she was like just right there, I'm surprised he didn't shoot at her. But maybe he just specifically was trying to just target these people, these lawmen.
For other law enforcement to arrive.
These congressmen.
When they did, by the time they did, Belter had left the scene. Belter then traveled
Actually, I didn't know they did more
to Brooklyn
congressmen. I
Park,
think they were all
Minnesota,
just politicians.
in the home of
I think
Minnesota
one of them
State
was a
Representative
the one he
Melissa
killed
Portman.
was, right? The one
At
he killed was a
approximately
congressman.
3:30 a.m., Belter arrived at Representative Hortman's house in his black SUV with the police license plates. He parked in the driveway and left the emergency lights on his SUV flashing, as if he was a police officer. Belter approached Representative Hortman's home, again dressed as a police officer, wearing a tactical vest and body armor, and wearing that hyper-realistic mask. He was armed and carrying a flashlight. Before he entered the home, 2 Brooklyn Park police officers arrived at the scene. They too had been dispatched to check on Representative Hortman after learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman. When they arrived at the scene, they saw Belter's black SUV parked in the driveway with the emergency lights flashing, and they saw Belter standing in front of the house several feet from the door. When Belter saw the officers get out of the car, he drew his weapon and began firing. He rushed into the house through the front door, firing into it. He repeatedly fired into the house, and when he entered, he murdered Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark. The Brooklyn Park police officers fired at Belter as he rushed into the home, but he escaped into the home and out the back. Officers recovered Belter's 9mm Beretta,
He escaped the
along
police
with the
on
body
foot.
armor and the mask,
Oh, they had a car? How the hell?
behind the home along his path of flight when he fled on foot. They later searched Belter's car, where they found
More importantly, a 50-something-year-old man somehow lost the police on foot? How the fuck? I've seen niggas get ran down by the police on foot that were track stars that couldn't get away from them. How did this one dude on a 50-year-old dude get away through? What? How the hell? I don't know.
more firearms, including assault-style rifles and a large quantity of ammunition. Belter also had in his car notebooks containing a list of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal elected officials, including Representative Hortman. Now, Belter planned his attack carefully. He researched his victims and their families. He used the internet and other tools to find their addresses and names, the names of their family members. He conducted surveillance of their homes and took notes about the location of their homes. He also prepared in other
Somebody's gonna be
ways.
mad that he's smiling the whole time.
He
This is far.
concealed
There's no
himself
way.
as a police officer, outfitting his black SUV
He ain't
with
smiling,
police lights and a police license
Who
plate,
the fuck we talk about?
wearing a black tactical vest and body armor, carrying a police flashlight and a handgun. And of course, he wore that hyper-realistic silicone mask as seen on the surveillance videos. The video of his arrival and shooting of Senator Hoffman is truly chilling. Again, it's no exaggeration to say this is the stuff of nightmares. There's a photo of the firearms found in Belter's abandoned SUV.
Bro, that nigga was strapped up. I ain't gonna lie. That nigga said, you gotta bend with just the guns in it. Like, what was his intentions of this? Did he think he was gonna fight the army at the end of this or something? Like, this did not go the way he expected it to, I think. All that armor
Based
shit
on
for what?
these crimes, we brought a federal complaint.
Also, I got a
charging-
question. If he ran out of, what was the point of the assault rifles too? Because it wasn't like he's gonna be able to get into somebody's house with them. Do you think he's gonna walk to somebody's house with an assault rifle and be like, I'm here to investigate the loud noise I heard? Nigga, get the fuck from in front of my door. You know, I ain't finna let no police officer in that got a full-on AR in their hand. Stupid as hell.
Jim Beltner with an array of federal charges. Counts 1 and 2 charge him with stalking. Count
Also,
one.
I keep thinking this, but why does that picture
We
look
brought
fake?
a federal complaint charging
Why does this picture look like a green screen, like a nigga's face cut out? It's like, I've been using green screen, like, this is what it looks like when you do that. I don't know why that's what this looks like to be, but like, holy shit, does that just kind of give that vibe?
Beltner with an array of federal charges. Counts 1 and 2 charge him with stalking. Count 1 charges him with stalking Representative Melissa Hortman using interstate facilities. And
Oh, this is
Title
like a
18
sketch.
United
I
States
don't know if
Code
that, I don't know if sketches are that good,
2261.
but still, you know.
The statutory penalties there are life in prison. Count 2, similarly, is charges him with stalking State
No
Senator
definitely
John
there.
Hoffman using interstate facilities. The maximum penalty of that count is 20 years in prison.
He's getting a life sentence, dog.
Counts 3 and 4 charge Belter with the murder of Melissa and
He's getting life, dog. There's no need to question this.
of the Hortmans using a firearm in violation of 18 USC 924J. And
Wait.
these are punishable by a term of life imprisonment or even death.
Oh, there is a death penalty in
Counts 5 and 6
yeah, in,
charge him with
Minnesota?
shooting the Hortmans and the Hoffmans using
Did
a
not know
firearm.
that.
And both of those counts also carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. Now, before I finish my remarks, I want to say a little bit about law enforcement and the manhunt that we've heard about the last 2 days. Over the past 48 hours, federal, state,
That
and
nigga's
local
getting
law
life.
enforcement from throughout the
Might
state
even
of
get the death
Minnesota
penalty, but I think
have
most
worked
likely just life.
together to carry out the largest manhunt in Minnesota history. Now, a lot has been said about law enforcement in recent weeks, but make no mistake, the men and women of our federal, state, and local law enforcement put their lives at risk and on the line to keep Minnesota safe. They worked tirelessly, day and night, to make sure that the tragic events of Friday night ended without further violence or bloodshed. We owe them all a debt of gratitude, and they will forever have my respect and admiration.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know, dog. I still don't think the police are really that big of a deal, but whatever. I mean, do we there's so many things that could change in the first place that the police wouldn't even need to be this fucking, look how militarized these, the people behind him are in the first place. You would have thought that the fucking Marines came in and arrested him. What? On top of that, it's just, why is there even a political assassination in here? Does it need to be? But there's too much division in the country. And it's not even, I'm not even going to say just Trump that is pushing it. The Democrats have been allowing it to be pushed by not, you know what I'm saying, by not standing for anything or not giving any hope to the other side of this. So they feel as if they're completely in the right to be this angry when they shouldn't be. But yeah, it's just way too much stoking of the flames. That's all that's been happening here. Oh, is this what I think it is?